What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today, I'm joined by Zara. Zara, again, thank you so much for your time today. How are you doing?
Good, good. I'm excited.
Well, we've only just briefly met. I only just messaged you today, or was it today or yesterday? And I messaged you, and you were like, I was like, man, I've got to get
Yeah.
this. I've got to get this chick involved in the YouTube channel. So, before we kind of go into any sort of deeper questions about some of the stuff that I got lined up, just give us a little bit of an intro, a little bit about yourself, and yeah, how you got to this point today.
Okay, where do I start? Right, so I currently have just finished my master's. I did my undergraduate and master's here at Cambridge studying. I started in like biology and then specialized into plant sciences. So very on brand for the vegan. I think I went vegan. I think it was in 2017. Um, so I was in secondary school at that point. And then I've always been into fitness my whole life. I've always been that kid that did every single sport in school. Um, and then it wasn't till probably about 2019 I started getting into the gym a lot more. And then obviously COVID happened, gyms shut. Um, and then once gyms reopened, I started to get a lot more into things like powerlifting. And then yeah, that's led me to sort of where I am today. I also started my Instagram account. I think I started it in like 2014, 2016. So it's been a while. Um, and on that I literally post about everything. It's extremely chaotic. Um, all like vegan recipes, fitness stuff, mental health, my
Mm.
life, basically everything. And so currently I just finished my master's and I'm in a bit of a limbo stage where I'm just sort of vibing. Um, but I'm doing my personal trainer course currently. So the plan is to sort of do that for a while, and then maybe return to science a bit later on
Yeah.
once my brain has refreshed.
Yeah. I love that, especially considering that you're vegan and also you're a power lifter. I don't really know any other vegan power lifters besides my partner, but also Sophia as well. So when I heard about Sophia, I was like, wow, it's like you don't meet many vegan power lifters. So that's always great. I want to
Yeah.
kind of break those two things down a little bit further. I
Mhm.
guess we can start with the sort of fitness side of things. You said you kind of very similar to myself. I can kind of relate playing all sorts of sports when I was younger. However, I never touched any sort of weights. I was never in the weights room, and I don't consider that to be a good thing. I think the gym can be a very good place to, I guess, replicate the outside world and replicate your sport and what you're trying to accomplish. So, tell us a little bit more about
Yeah.
your sort of fitness space. Like, what sports did you specifically grow up playing? And I guess, kind of like, what made you get into powerlifting specifically? It could have been weightlifting, it could have been strongman.
Yeah. So in secondary school, it was sort of netball, hockey, but I'd always been very fond of hockey. So I played hockey like outside of school, my local club, my county. I also did a lot of swimming and a lot of running for my school as well. So I was very much like cardio based sports, like swimming, hockey, running. They were sort of my main sports. Hockey probably the biggest one. Um, and then it was when I went into sixth form that I decided I was I've always been naturally slim build, but because I did so much running, I I felt like I wanted to be a bit stronger. I felt like I wanted to put on some muscle. Um, so I started in the gym, although I was that typical gym girl when they start going to the gym that they just went on the cardio machines and did a few weights, and I was like, this is completely going against the point of me going to the gym outside of all my running. But it was a start. It made me feel comfortable. And then I met, I'm the sort of person which I go into the gym and I want to make friends with everyone straight away. So I made so many gym friends. My gym at home, the age demographic is quite older. So I was sort of everyone's granddaughter in the gym. So it was quite sweet. So they all helped me like teach me things, how to get started in the gym. And then I still played hockey. I still did some running, still did some swimming, but it was more balanced because I couldn't do everything. When I would do my hockey, swimming, and running and gym, I was training sometimes 3 times a day. I'd have like running in the morning at school, then hockey at lunch, and then swimming in the evening, and it was just getting a lot. And I think part of my fitness journey has also been learning to do less.
Mhm.
Um, so I think that is also the trap I sort of fell into of trying to do too much. So then, yeah, so then I started to get into the gym, and then I went to uni, and then my first year of uni, COVID struck. So I couldn't go swimming. I couldn't play hockey with my teammates because that wasn't allowed.
Mhm.
I couldn't go to the gym for a lot of time. So then I started to run a lot more. Also fell into another trap of running too much and got quite badly injured with 2 stress fractures.
Mhm.
So that took me out of running for a very long time. And even to this day, I've never run in the same way again. But honestly, my goals have sort of changed now. So when those gyms did reopen, my sort of primary focus became gym and building muscle and getting stronger
Mhm.
and lifting weights because I couldn't run as much because of my stress fractures. And I didn't really enjoy it as much. I think I did so much of it during lockdown. I sort of got mentally scarred from running. Um, I still enjoy it to this day. I still run usually once a week.
Mhm.
Just I go to a run club, so it's sort of social as well. I'm not necessarily training to be really good at running, but it's fun. Um, and the runner's high is real because it does make you feel really good. But powerlifting specifically, I don't know. I think growing up doing a lot of competitive sports, I've always had the mentality that, well, I can't just be a gym goer. I
Yep.
have to actually compete in something to do with gym. And I didn't want to do bodybuilding because I think I sort of wanted to step away from aesthetic based training
Yep.
and really focus on feeling strong and performance. And then I was like, well, powerlifting sounds fun. They look really cool and really strong. Let me try that. Um, so I started deadlifting, started benching, unfortunately started squatting. I dislike squatting immensely. But unfortunately it's part of the powerlifting trio. Um, and then yeah, I sort of just trained myself for uh, a couple years, only been a couple years, a year and a half. And then earlier this year, I decided to get a coach. Um, and that sort of really helped because, again, as someone who was training to be a powerlifter, I also fell into that trap again of doing too much.
Mhm.
Um, because when you're training for bodybuilding and training for powerlifting, they're two very different things.
Yep.
With powerlifting, you don't always want to be going to RPE 10 failure, especially on your compound lifts. Um, so my coach sort of helps keep me sane and not killing myself on every set. Um, but I love powerlifting. It just makes you feel just so strong
Yeah.
and yeah.
Speaking of that as well, like I'm sure a lot of people watching as well, and they not to get too personal, but it does obviously the sport does have to do with your body weight in regards to competition
Mm.
and jumping in line. So anyone watching this right now, what are your three big lifts? And obviously, I think they would like to compare it to your body weight just based off that as well, because I've seen your lifts and they're quite impressive.
Yeah, so I compete in the under 69s
Yep.
um, because I'm quite tall.
Hmm.
So I'm about 170 centimeters or 5'7". So I will go to competitions and I'll be in the same weight category as me, and some of the girls will have like arms and legs triple the size of mine, but because they're shorter, we're in the
Yep.
same category. So that's just how powerlifting works,
Yep.
unfortunately. So why I decided to be a powerlifter, I don't know, because I don't have the anatomy of a typical powerlifter. But if you enjoy it, I say go for it.
Yep.
Like I'm built to be a long distance runner, but got bored of it.
Yep.
So um yeah, so I compete in the under 69s. My my competition best lifts are 110 squat, 70 kilogram bench, and 157.5 deadlift.
Yep.
But I've recently added 2.5 onto my bench and 2.5 onto my deadlift in the gym,
Yep.
but it doesn't quite count yet.
Yeah.
Instead, I've done it on stage on the platform. But yeah,
What's the, I'm just trying to do some quick maths there. So in competition, you've done 70 kilo bench. Is that correct?
yeah,
It was something 100 and something squat,
110,
110, so a 180, and then a 150 something deadlift,
157.5.
157.5. Uh,
Yeah.
so what's that? We're putting 180, 200 man, I need to get my calculator out. What?
My total. Um,
It's probably higher, but it's
uh,
based off the competition. It's gonna be pretty high.
my total is 337.5, but I didn't achieve that all in one comp.
Hmm.
So my most previous comp, which was in April,
Yep.
I did the 110 squat and 110 bench,
Yep.
and then I was going for the 160 deadlift
Yep.
because my second attempt was 150 and it moved so easily. I should have got the 160, but
Yeah.
I just couldn't get it on the day. So that meant that I ended up with it's quite annoying in powerlifting because if the second attempt is easy and you go for the third and you miss it,
Yeah.
then you're just left with a second attempt, which was
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
easy. But that's the game you play,
That's the
and
sport,
I
isn't
took the
it?
risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got a good sense of like your sort of the fitness side of things. You've gone from running all the way into powerlifting. I guess
Mm-hmm.
people kind of watching my YouTube channel, it's all about fitness, it's all about veganism. So I kind of want to dive into the vegan side of things as well. I think as much as I kind of disagree with the definition of what veganism is, a lot of people define it differently. What's your sort of stance? Like, what made you go vegan? Yeah, what made you go vegan, really?
So I initially went vegan for more health reasons.
Hmm.
I was sort of in this phase where I was trying to be the healthiest me possible. Um, and the sort of the reasons I went vegan, uh, maybe not the best reasons. Not that health isn't a good reason to go vegan, but
Yep.
it was sort of just like, oh well, Instagram says this is good for me, let's do it. But then once I started to actually learn why I'm vegan
Hmm.
and the benefits of veganism outside of just, oh, well, it's good for your health, maybe, um, then it really stuck. I think the main reason I'm vegan now, especially, is for environmental reasons and sustainability. So I studied plant sciences, and a lot of that is crop sciences and learning about how we can feed a sustainable planet, feed the planet sustainably. And a primary factor to that is the reduction of meat consumption.
Hmm.
Um, so personally, I think it's quite hypocritical of me if I'm going around teaching people how to feed the planet sustainably and then I'm there eating meat. Like that doesn't
Yep.
like practice what I preach. Um, and also, I think a lot of people think, "Oh, well, you're vegan. How are you vegan?" I'm like, I don't know. I just am. I don't think about it now. I don't think, "Oh, what can I eat that's vegan?" I'm like, just what can I eat?
Yep.
Because it just when you've done it for so long, it just becomes your life
Yep.
in a way.
It's so handy to have someone like you. Like anytime someone messages me something like, "Oh, crop deaths," though, I'm just gonna be like, "Go message Zara." Like she studies this stuff. Like
Yeah.
honestly, this is great, and yeah, this is gonna make for some really really good content, especially if we have
Mm,
if we have another interview down the line, we can dive into that specifically.
yeah.
So you mentioned like the sort of three main things that come up when people discuss veganism: health, the animals, as well as the environmental aspects. Um, what
Mhm.
percentage would you assign to each one of those? You mentioned the environment's kind of like a main thing, but just I know you probably never thought about it, but what would you assign to each?
I'd probably start assign about 50% to sustainability,
Hmm.
maybe about 30% to animals, and 20% to health.
But
Because
30%. Yep.
I could, yeah, I'm going to be honest, I don't necessarily think veganism is the healthiest diet for everyone on the planet,
Hmm.
or anyone really. It might not be. I don't know.
Hmm.
Um, like, could I go and eat eggs as a great source of protein? Maybe that would be good for me. But would I, from an ethical perspective?
Yep.
No.
Yep. You bring up a really valid point, in my opinion, and I definitely respect. First of all, I respect anyone who is vegan for whatever reason you're doing it, like you're doing it. So I can't really like if you're like I'm vegan because it makes water taste better. Okay, whatever. That's weird, but whatever. Like like
Yeah.
it's like a weird thing. But in my opinion, and I guess I think most act vegan activists would say that it's 100% about the animals, and that's kind of my stance on it as well. And again, you're vegan yourself. I completely respect that for whatever reason.
Hmm.
Um, and like, how do you feel about people who, I guess, have conversations with people about reducitarianism? Because it doesn't sound like you're a reducitarianist, but you also seem to be quite on board with, your transition from being vegan and thinking about your own health and thinking about the environment. What's your position on like stuff like meatless Mondays and going vegetarian, and like how do you feel those forms of reducitarianism affect vegans and affect veganism down the line?
Personally, I think they're great
Hmm.
because a lot of people aren't ready to go 100% vegan, don't want to go 100% vegan. And I think I have issues with the concept of veganuary even
Hmm.
because I think for the majority of people, going 100% vegan for a month is too much change. And it's too much change that isn't sustainable for them. And then they revert back to being 100% not vegan. And then they're scarred for life
Yep.
about anything to do with the word vegan. It don't get me wrong, it does encourage some people to go vegan and stay vegan, but I think they're in the minority. And I think it's better to have 100 people have meatless Monday than 5 people to go fully vegan. Like overall, you're going to make more of a difference having a larger majority of people making small changes than a very small amount of people making big changes.
Yep.
And I think what is going to help veganism in the long term is people making small, sustainable changes that will build up over time.
Yep.
So I actually often don't tell people I'm vegan because I think also the word vegan has a bad rap about it.
Yep.
And I tell people, I'm gonna be honest, I tell people I'm vegan, but don't worry, I'm not a psycho vegan
Yep.
because I'm not one of the sort of people which will tell you I'm vegan and then force you to also go vegan. My form of vegan activism is just showing people that you can be one, vegan, two, live a normal life, three, be into fitness and be vegan, and also enjoy your food being vegan. And I
Mm.
think setting that example will make more change than criticizing someone having chicken for lunch, you know?
Yep.
I think
Yeah.
I think those small sustainable changes like Meatless Mondays and things like that over time are the way to
Mhm.
make larger changes.
I love that. Also, what you mentioned again about sustainability. Even before I was vegan, I was very much like studying PT, just like you were doing as well. I kind of like got introduced to many forms of diets, many forms of eating, and the one that kind of stuck with me was flexible dieting. And something that really stuck in my mind was something I got from a coach that I had years ago, which is the best diet or the best nutrition plan is the one you can stick to. And that kind of just blew my mind. And what I try and do now, I guess, is have that sort of moral and ethical tie to that, because obviously there's a bit of a breakdown with the best diet is the one you can stick to. Like if that person is like, well, I like eating human meat, obviously there's a restriction there. We need to kind of be
Maybe.
understanding of like what is going to be. So I like to apply it to all sorts of aspects of my life. The best relationship is the one I can stick to. The best career is the one I can stick to. The best nutrition plan is the one I can stick to. But obviously with an ethical and a moral sort of outline to that as well. So yeah, I
Yeah.
really, really like what you mentioned as well, about the sustainability factor as well. Also, I wanted to mention like even before we had this call, you mentioned your housemates and even sort of friends, family. I'm assuming that you have non-vegan friends, family, roommates, acquaintances, people in your life. Like, how do you like? What do you think of them? How do you feel around them? Like, how does it affect your life?
So yeah, it's interesting because when I first wanted to go vegan, I was living with my mum at home. I was living with my mum, my brother, and my stepdad. And my brother and my stepdad are very much I must eat meat at every meal sort of people. My mum is a bit more relaxed, but generally we would have meat or fish. We actually as a household we ate a lot more fish than meat. Um, and we'd sometimes have vegetarian meals, but it was most nights we'd have some sort of meat or fish. And when I told my mom I wanted to go vegan, her only real concern, well, firstly, she didn't let me, um, and then primarily for the reasons that so my mum's side is Indian, and it's a very big thing to eat dinner with the family, and not just eat dinner with the family, but all eat the same meal, eat the same thing.
Mm.
So that was her concern. She didn't want me to be eating something completely different to what they were eating.
Yep.
She wanted to still have that family dinner time um, aspect of it. And then I was asking her, can I go vegan? Can I go vegan? Um, and then one day I literally just told her, Mum, I'm going vegan. I'm not eating it and you can't force me. And then she was like, okay, what are we going to do about this? So what we did at home is that she would, I love cooking. Um, don't get me wrong, but when I'm at home, my mum loves cooking for the family. It's what she loves doing. So I wasn't going to take that away from her and cook my own meals because she wanted to cook for me as
Mhm.
well. So what we do is she'd cook the base of the meal, which would have like vegetables, it would have some sort of legume or bean usually, and then we'd serve out my portion. And then if they wanted to, they would add meat on top of that, which from a health perspective was probably unnecessary because they were already getting the plant protein in it.
Mhm.
Um, However, over time, they started doing that at the start. They'd add meat in, and then over time, I don't know whether it's they just got lazy or they realized actually we just can't be bothered to add the meat in. So they would end up just eating the vegan meal. Um, and then over time, we just gradually cook more and more vegan meals.
Mhm.
Um, so things like that, you're subconsciously making them
Yep.
go more vegan because
They
um,
didn't get protein
and my mum
deficient.
loves it.
They
No,
didn't go.
they did not get protein deficient. I mean, my stepdad is he grew up on a farm. He's a farmer.
Mm.
So I'm not going to make him go vegan because it's physically not going to happen. He's not going to go vegan. Um, but he's gone from not eating vegetables and refusing to eat one vegan meal to, well, if it tastes nice and is cooked for me, I'll happily eat a vegan meal. Um, so it's changed him as well.
That-
Um,
That's a very
and then when I'm at uni, I live at,
sorry. Go.
sorry,
Yep.
go on.
No, no, you go. You go,
I
of
was just
course.
saying, when I'm at uni and I live with my housemates, like my housemates aren't vegan.
Mm.
I honestly, I don't care. Everyone is their own person, I think. Um, who am I to tell someone else what to eat? Um, so I just do my thing. My housemates and my friends do their thing. Um, and as long as everyone is respectful of everyone's diet,
Mm.
then I'm chill.
I guess like, it's first of all a very interesting point. You mentioned that your mum was Indian. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I've been to India and they have a massive vegetarian culture. So it's quite
Mm,
surprising to hear that, every single meal was like meat, meat, meat. I also got an old sort of neighbor that I used to live at, and she's Indian and she's a vegetarian from birth. So she's never eaten meat before. And she did
mm,
eat dairy and eggs and that sort of stuff. And we had like a communal kitchen that we'd go to as well. She did have her own kitchen, but she preferred to go to the communal kitchen sometimes. And if someone was cooking meat in there, she would literally like be sick and physically had to leave the kitchen and go to. So it was
really.
like quite interesting to hear. This is kind of where the question stems from, I guess. So you know, it was funny because I was vegan at the time. And she used to say things like, that's disgusting. Why would anyone do that sort of stuff? And I was just saying like, but you're vegetarian. It was like, I could say the same things about what you eat, like some of the like the dairy and the egg industry. She was using the same reasons like animals being killed. So it was quite funny conversation.
Mm,
And then she eventually went vegan. She was like, I can't stand being a hypocrite. So it was just like a very interesting conversation that we had. um I think that's pretty much all the question. Let me just have a quick skim. Oh yeah, I do have one final question for you. This is
mhm.
be a bit of a sign off, I guess. It doesn't have to be a short form at all. Like, if you could go back to your younger self, or potentially someone who just reminds you of you, what would you say to them based on everything we've discussed today, or from what you know now?
Oh my God, that's such a hard question. What would I tell my younger self?
I guess, like, if I could break it down, excuse me for asking, but how old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 22.
22. So let's go back to,
Mm,
I think you said 2017, you went vegan. Obviously this channel has to do
mm.
with veganism, with fitness. What would you say to that person before they step foot in the gym, before they even discovered veganism? What would you say to them in regards to, yeah, what life is going to look like to now?
I think I would tell them that you don't have to do everything perfectly first time. You don't have to be the perfect vegan. You don't have to be the perfect gym goer, the perfect powerlifter. I think it's all about being on your own journey at your own pace, and whatever your own pace is perfectly fine. And everyone's pace will be different.
Amazing. I love it. Perfect. Look, again, Zara, I want to say thank you again so much for your time. I know this was a last minute
That's all
situation.
right.
I'm very happy to have squeezed you in. I'm going to leave it here for anyone who's interested. Zara, where can people find you? Like, I know I messaged you on Instagram, but what's your Instagram? I'm gonna put it in the description anyway. But where can people find you?
Yeah, so my Instagram is a spoon of peanut butter because I eat a ridiculous amount of peanut butter. Um, and that's basically it. I mean, I technically have a TikTok, but I haven't posted on it in a very long
That's fine.
time.
I think Instagram's going to be a
Yeah,
great place to find you. Thank you so much for your time,
yeah,
Zara. I'll let you know
no
when
worries.
this is up live. But yeah, catch you later.
Perfect.